Good morning, folks. Hey, Ian, if you're still here, sorry if you've been waiting long. I went ahead and clicked in a minute or so early. I saw you in here. So, good morning. I hope you're having a good Saturday. Oh, you're probably at work, aren't you? And I hope you're in here because otherwise I'm just, good morning, Ian. I was just getting ready to say, because if you're not in here, I'm just talking to myself. There's nobody know that but me. And I do that a lot already, so. Too early to start that. No, just well, I hope you have a good day at work. I don't know. This might be. I'm not sure what all we're going to talk about today. I'm solo today, so I don't have Mark to pick me up if I stumble here. It's been a while since I've done a purely solo show. Do you ever not work on Saturdays? It could be a squirrel day. It's going to start out serious, but it might turn into a squirrel day. Some of my best days are squirrel days. Speaking of squirrels, I got two different kinds of squirrels out there right now. I've got a chipmunk sneaking up, which I don't mind. They don't do me near as much damage as the grays. But I got a gray out there with a really gray tail. Tuesday through Saturday. Interesting. There was a time in my life when I worked Fridays through Mondays. I worked 10-hour days and just worked those 4 days during the weekend. Hey, bud, hop up. Oops. There you go. You ready to lay back down? You don't say hi to Ian. Your nose is dirty. I don't know what you've been rooting in. When he was a kitten, he stayed. Brenda said he always had a dirty nose, and Brenda said it was because he was always scooting along the floor looking for tidbits to eat. And here in the last few days, I've noticed it's dirty again. It went for a long time, and he didn't get it dirty like that. Carol, good morning, ma'am. Carol, was this the morning you said you wanted to come on the show? Excuse me. As usual, I don't start that till I start talking. What, you want to say hi to Carol? You want to say hi to Carol? Come here. Oh, can't turn you anymore. Your chair's stuck. Oh, my goodness. What a big boy. I don't know if she can see you or not, but say hi. Say hi, Miss Carol. You know, Carol's your friend. You're such a big boy. Carol said, "Hi, Teddy. You're actually behaving yourself today." He just had to pretty much make him get off of me a few minutes ago. My hip's been bothering me, so before the show I was stretched out on the couch trying to loosen it up a little bit. He came over and hopped up on me and laid down. He decided it was a nap time. And then I couldn't get him off. Any other time he'd hop right down because he when he goes to sleep and goes into a deep sleep, he usually does it somewhere where nobody will bother him. You be careful up there. What's out there anyway? You wouldn't go out there if I let you out. He sees something out there. It might be the chipmunk bite. He doesn't get that excited about the squirrels usually. Anyway, he wouldn't get off of it. He laid down and got comfortable, and every time I tried to move him so I could get up, he just kind of did a circle around on my back and then laid back down. Yeah, you are, Ian. I'm just waiting for you guys. But that's the sacrifices we make, but so worth it. So, Carol, do you have any big plans for the weekend? Well, good morning, Miss Brenda. You just missed Mr. Teddy. I was telling everybody about his dirty nose and how you used to have to clean it because he rooted like a little pig all the time. Brenda, do I need to push the door on shut? Oh, you were watching. Okay. You were just hiding. Hey, Dean. Good morning, sir. How are you? Good to see you on a Saturday morning. Are you able to hang out with us, or are you getting ready for work this morning? Found some new potato chips. We hadn't eaten any potato chips around here in months, and we got some. I found some new ones. They were new for me anyway. They were cheddar jalapeno, and I really like them, but they make my nose itch, and I can't figure out what's doing that. Every time I try to put one in my mouth, my nose starts itching. Anybody else ever had that problem? I'm sure that's probably my body or somebody telling me I don't need to eat a potato chip. Oh, report cards. That's probably not that much fun. Hey, good for you, Dean. When do you guys get finished? Hey, Tony, Phantasmic Chronicles is here, folks. Say hi. You're up early to be getting work done. At least I believe you are. I may have you in the wrong place. Are you in Ohio or California? I thought you were in California. Oh, Carol's going to be driving. Okay. Hope you make it back. Oh, you are in Ohio. We have friends in Ohio, and I have another one of my really good friends lived there for a long time. I used to know quite a few people in Ohio. I don't know as many anymore. Hey, Francisco. Excuse me. You have a great day too, Francisco. What's in my pocket? Whose pocket? My pocket? Oh, what is that? Well, it wasn't in it. It was on my shirt. It was the hair from someone. You left. Oh, I bet he brought. I bet I pulled that up from the chair. I need to brush his seat out. He's got hair on his cushion, don't you? No wonder he has gigantic hairballs. He grooms himself a lot before he goes night, which is pretty much all the time. Carol, he was up this morning. He and Chloe were. I will say playing. He was hiding in a tunnel. They have a tunnel they run through and play in since they were kittens, and they still do. And he just barely fits in it. But he was trying to get her to come by so he could jump out. Hi, Diana. Good morning. How's Canada this morning? I don't know. Are you guys hockey fans? And if so, were you rooting for either the Flames or the Oilers? It was a heck of a game, although I was hoping that the Flames would win, if nothing else, so it would go 7 games. And then same thing happened last night. Colorado scored with a couple seconds left in the game. My daughter just cleaned out her cat's bed. She pulled out enough hair to make a pillow. Well, that's, yeah. He and I get that. I believe we could do that with him just about, seems like. I guarantee you we could vacuum enough up to make a small pillow at least. I take a brush and brush this one. It's well, go Avs right now. They're. I guess you liked that game plenty last night, didn't you, Ian? Let's see. You guys, are you guys a Jets fans, Diana? Right now, Ian, I think they're going to be. I think they'll be tough to beat. But I also think the Oilers might be tough to get by. They're playing pretty good too, but I think Tampa and Colorado are probably going to be the. I mean, right now I just feel like they're probably it, but and I think if they are, I think that'll be a good series. I like for the games to go. I want it to go 7 just because one, there's nothing more exciting than hockey game 7, and 2, once that's done, I don't get any more hockey till next fall. Yeah, I thought it was going to go to OT also, Ian, which was bad because Brenda said, "Oh, it'll go overtime." I told her I'd be up when the game was over, and she said, "Well, let's see. That means it'll go overtime, and then you'll be up." And I said, "No, it probably won't go overtime." And I thought it was going to, and then they scored that last 5 seconds to go or whatever it was. There wasn't much time left, and it was a well played. They did a good job getting it in there. They probably deserve to be there. And I was just reading up on something. Hey, is Mike in here too? Hey, Mike, welcome. What was I getting ready to say? Do you remember the days of Patrick Waugh, Ian? Were you a hockey fan or in Colorado then? I don't know if you're a native or not, but yeah, 5 or 6 seconds. That's what I was thinking. And it's the first time they've made it past the second round of playoffs since he left, or since he was there as a player. So, and that was in the mid-90s, I think, or mid to late 90s. I know it'd been at least 20 years. Maybe it was like 02 or something. I remember watching him play, and I knew he was always a great goalie. I didn't realize some of the things he's credited with doing. I didn't realize he's the guy that really, for lack of a better word, I'm going to say perfected the butterfly defense positions and basically forced everybody else to do it, or everybody else now does it. I won't say forced, but he was just so good that they couldn't deny that. Up till then, they'd all mostly been stand-up goalies. And I do remember that, but back then I wasn't didn't pay as much attention to the game. Well, didn't get to see that many games. I listened to more on radio back then, and I couldn't tell what the goalie was doing. All I could get out of that was if they yelled, scored or not. Brendan, I thought we had our bald-headed bird was back, but it's not him. Donuts and coffee. What kind of donuts and coffee there, Mike? Would that be Tim Horton or a local something? Yeah, he was pretty quick. No two ways around that. He was definitely one of the best. Oops, Diana said, Mike, aren't you supposed to be working? I just missed that part of that discussion. You ran him off, Diana. You have a good day, Mike. Thanks for stopping in. For what it's worth, Diana, my team's not in it either. They got beat in the first round. I am a Nashville Preds fan, I must admit. And they had kind of an up and down season this year. I don't know what to think about next year. Hockey's so dynamic, and it seems like the players move. And I'm probably way off on this. You guys can probably tell me better. But I mean, it seems like since they, I guess, initiated the salary caps and started, it tends to move players around so that teams can, keep certain players and meet their salary caps. And when that happens, it seems like the power shift to another city now, and which I guess makes lots of teams have good seasons different times. But I don't know, and I'm probably way off on that, but it seems that way. You back with us, Carol, or you can't still be driving? Well, you could be, I guess. Hopefully you aren't texting and driving. Well, we're going to talk a little bit this morning about Memorial Day. In fact, I was going to ask, I don't know, Diana, are you going to be able to stay around for a few minutes? Or will you need to go? Because I have a question pertaining to Canada in that regard. I tried to pull up some slides last night. You know, guys, how I love my slides, but although you guys are probably cheering, no slides. I got a couple. Hi, Shelly. Good morning. Hope you can stay with us for a little while today. I'd always love to invite you in for a chat. Okay, good, Diana. I had a question about and I'll come to it in a few minutes. I'll wait. I'll talk a little bit first, and then I'll ask you. Let me make sure I haven't missed somebody here. I don't think so. Oh, Ian, I could probably come up with some if you want. If I started to find one just for you. I don't know if you guys remember that, but when I did the videos was the day I believe we were talking about endangered species, if I'm not mistaken, and I think we talked about the book that Mark illustrated for his two co-worker friends in the what they call it, Broken Circle, I think's the name of it. I've got it on my phone, but he told me the other day that it might not be available right now on Amazon. I don't know if anybody looked at it. I'm reading it. It looks interesting to me. Might be a good thing for a school read someday, Carol. But he said they pulled it. The two authors, one of them passed away a few years ago, and one reason why they hadn't got the book published sooner, it was kind of delayed, and I think that he lost the one that's still around. I think lost a little bit of steam and didn't get it finished, but he was able to. They put it out. They got it. They sent it out and had it um, edited and read by several people, and people that didn't have anything to do with them, that kind of stuff. And then after he put it out the last week or week before, he ran it by one author of another genre. I won't mention who she is, and she had already edited it a couple of times too. Looked at it because they had worked with her some while they were doing it, and since she was a published author, and she decided she didn't like it was too wordy, and she thought he should change it. Well, he got upset about that and went out and had Amazon pull it. So if you don't have it, you can't get it. I don't think. So I'm sorry to hear that. If it don't come out before long, I might have to read it on there. Chloe's sleeping right through my show, huh? Well, that shows how much respect she has for me. But I'm not too surprised by that. She's like that. She's a bit of a diva. That's Teddy's little sister. So let me see. Let me see what I did put together here. Yeah, I got some highlights. I think I will show some of these, and just to kind of fuel the conversation a little bit. And I would really like to hear some of your remarks and comments on how you may or may not celebrate Memorial Day. Okay, I got that up there, so bear with me just a second. Where was Mark going on a trip to? Market. Oh, you know what? I just saw something, man. I'm glad you said that. Mark is in he's down in New Mexico. His daughter lives down near El Paso. And they were going to go down, pick her up, and her and her partner up, and they were going to go out to Carlsbad and do some things. He and her both, and I guess her fella and Shauna too, that probably not nearly as much as Caitlin and Mark, but they love archaeology and that sort of thing, and paleontology and that. She does that too. That's what she does. She's I don't know exactly what her degrees are in, but that's the kind of thing she works on. And she's got some interesting finds out there. She found the most. I think she found one of the, if not the most intact crocodilian out there as a fossil somewhere. I don't know where it is, and nobody's removed it, but it's still there. But she found it, which I thought was really cool. Anyway, they're down there, and they're going to visit some archaeological sites down that way. There's a site down there that they've discovered Clovis points in a settlement, maybe of Clovis, what's called Clovis man or Clovis period of humans, which they didn't know were out that far west as early as these fossils are. So they were going to try to go by there and see that site, maybe go by White Sands and find out if they could see the footprints they've recently discovered there in the mud that are, very, very old, and some other stuff. But I was looking on the weather today, and the weather man said it was going to be 106 down there today. So that may dampen things a bit. Hey, John, good morning. So anyway, I'm going to put this up. We got a few more people here. Or I've got a few more, whatever, everybody want to look at that. And we'll just go. Like I said, I didn't put together much. I was trying to put stuff together. I didn't finish that. I was trying to put this together yesterday and last night. My hip's been hurting so bad that I just couldn't sit here. I couldn't concentrate. The more I tried to work on it, it seemed like the less I got done. So I apologize for that. On Ian's case, you're lucky, Ian. I didn't have time to find a cool government boring video. Well, Shelley, that is a lot. Okay, this is and that's the first thing I wanted to mention, actually. And this is how this got started. Somebody the other night said we should do a show about the difference between Memorial Day and Veterans Day. So I thought I would do that a little bit, and not to be blunt or unfeeling or unkind, but basically the difference is whether or not the veteran gave their life in war or served, and not just served. That's why I knew I wouldn't be able to say this properly. But Veterans Day is for the living, men and women who served, and if you will, survived conflicts or not, but they served. Memorial Day was originally started for those who had given the full measure, as some say. And I've got a comment. I've got a friend of ours sent us something or posted it on Facebook. He's my daughters actually both work for him. He's a vet. His wife's a vet. And I'm going to pull that up and read that to you right now if I can. Watch me not be able to. Watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat. Oh, wrong hat. Let's see here. Yeah. All right. I knew I'd do something wrong. I got my cart before my horse here, guys. Hang on just a minute. No, that's subtitles. I don't want that. Oh, come on. Now at least I can pull this over here, I think, and I can read it. Bear with my notes. You guys don't need to see my notes. Okay. Now I think I got it. And this is something Jason Deal, who is the gentleman I'm talking about, put out. He sent this out today on his Facebook page, and he said, "Here's some ground rules for the Memorial Day weekend." And I don't know if he wrote this or if he found this somewhere, or if this is just his opinion. But it is appropriate, I think. Again, I'll say it in that regard, I mean, it's something he said. It's his opinion, but I think you'll find it interesting or useful. Number 1, Memorial Day. It's a day of honor by remembering the brave men and women that have died for our freedom. So no need for a happy Memorial Day message. It's not a holiday or a sale. It's a day of remembrance. You want to know the true meaning, visit your local cemetery, talk to a Gold Star family, or visit a VA hospital. Say a prayer and then raise a glass and thank God for the men and women who died while fighting in a war. P.S. Do not thank a living veteran for his or her service today. They'll get honored on Veterans Day in November and every single other day. This is a time to remember that the true price of freedom is the bloodshed of those that paid the ultimate sacrifice. Honor those brave souls that have, in a moment of courage, given the last full measure of themselves in order to secure liberty, which I thought was pretty well said. And not in any way to dishonor living veterans, because he is one. He and his wife both served, and I think they both served overseas, although I'm not positive. And then I thought I would read one more thing that was said at the more or less the official opening day of Memorial Day in 1860. It's considered the beginning as a national holiday, and I'll go over a little bit of history in a minute. But he said this was James A. Garfield, who would later be president. He was actually in the military during the Civil War. We do not know one promise these men made, one pledge they gave, one word they spoke, but we do know they summed up and perfected by one supreme act the highest virtues of men and citizens. For love of country, they accepted death and thus resolved all doubts and made immortal their patriotism and their virtue, which I thought was pretty strong words. So, and this is what I remember about Memorial Days. I don't know where that picture was taken. That may be Arlington Cemetery, National Cemetery in Arlington, Virginia, across the river from D.C., or that may be somewhere else. But when I was growing up, I lived near what's known as the Mountain Home Soldiers Home or Soldiers Hospital, and it's also a national cemetery, a pretty large one, been around for a while. And on Memorial Day weekends, they had all the scouts I'm not sure what the radius was or how far out people came, but they had hundreds, if not a couple thousand scouts camped on the grounds over there, which is a whole nother story. They had the most strict camping rules I think any place I've ever been. But the reason we were there was on Memorial Day morning, or not Memorial Day morning, but Sunday morning, the day before Memorial Day. They had a big ceremony and some speechifying and that sort of stuff at one of the outdoor. I think they had a baseball field there, maybe, and we sat out in the outfield, and they got up and did all their talking and whatnot. Hi, Tina. Didn't see you come in. This is Tina. I think this was your idea, so I'm going to talk a bit about Memorial Day, and I don't know how much you've seen so far, but anyway, what we did was they took all the scouts out and lined us up at the cemeteries at different rows, and handed us flags like those you see there, and we walked through the cemetery all the way through the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of graves, and we placed the flag at each grave, and we stepped back and we saluted, and then walked to the next one, did the same thing until we ran out of flags. So when we were all done, the whole cemetery was just a flutter with red, white, and blue. Oh, really, Ian? That's pretty interesting. Yeah, I had a picture of the unknown. I don't know if I've got that on my slides or not, but Tina, but it is very solemn thing to look at and think about. So that's one thing you got to think about is Memorial Day is for the dead and Veterans Day is for the living. And now let me see what my next slide was. I'm just going to try to talk a little bit about history. And this was kind of the first official day when it was decided to be a national, or they turned it into a national holiday. It was what most people I grew up. I mean, Memorial Day's been there since I grew up, obviously, but we always used to do Decoration Day. And it seems to me like we did Decoration Day, or my parents did, on Memorial Day weekend. So I think it was about the same time of year. And from the early tradition of decorating graves with flowers, wreaths, and flags, Memorial Day is a day for remembrance of those who have died in service for our country. It was first observed on May 30th, 1868. And again, I add that was when it first became a national holiday to commemorate the sacrifices of Civil War soldiers by a proclamation of General John A. Logan of the Grand Army of the Republic, an organization of former Union sailors and soldiers. But was that the first? And probably not. They actually give credit for the first unofficial Memorial Day for either a group of women who wanted to pay respects to the dead, Civil War dead in Georgia or Mississippi, and they actually both kind of claim that. I looked that up, and I don't know if I put a slide in here for that because it wasn't very clear, honestly, which one it was, and it was either Columbus, Georgia, or Mississippi, and it was in, I think they call that they think that is 1866 or 1867. And all of it kind of started from the idea of Decoration Day. And if you don't know what Decoration Day is, that may be understandable because apparently Decoration Day started pretty much in the Appalachians. It's a tradition that the people who settled in these areas kind of brought with them from, I guess, the old country. And then it has spread out. And the interesting thing, I thought, when you look it up, if you look up Decoration Day, one of the references they give you is Appalachia in the United States and Liberia in Africa. And the reason I give you Liberia is former slaves who were freed and some did return to Africa. And if you know any history about Liberia, and you know that it's founded by former slaves that came from here, or at least part of it is. I don't know how that whole thing worked out. And they used to have their flag looks a lot like ours, and they took that Decoration Day theme with them. So it's still celebrated, not the right word. It's still honored on that day. And then another thing I thought was kind of interesting. This may not be the same, but the other state where it's Decoration Day is a big deal is Utah. Apparently, the Mormons picked it up. They really make a big deal out of Decoration Day. But that's been around. Like I said, I remember going with my parents. My mom always took flowers to her family's graves in the cemetery, and my dad's. And let me catch up on chat just a minute. Let's see here, Tina. Amazing brother. Yeah, Tina. I mean, I always thought Mountain Home was a huge place and had a lot of stone, monuments for fallen soldiers. But compared to Arlington, it's nothing. And yes, Brenda, if I didn't answer that already, it was your mom, Shelly's mama would say Mississippi. And it may very well be Mississippi, Shelly. I found a photo of what they claim to be the first Memorial Day in Mississippi. I don't think I saw a picture of the one in Georgia, but they both kind of take credit. It depends on if you read up on it, or depending on what you read, it could be one or the other, or the one article I found did mention both. And so they kind of kick it around and to be somewhat, I don't know what the right word is here, but give equal honor, give some equal credit to both sides. That most people just kind of say it was one or the other now, I think. And that was probably, oh no, this might be the only other slide I have. The first one was at Arlington, like I said, where both Confederate and Union soldiers were buried. It was originally known as Decoration Day. It's designated as Memorial Day, and many American towns today are celebrated with the parade, and that's true too. I know they do parades. I think they did one here, and they may have done it last night, or it may be today. I think. Oh, I wrote that down. It was the first official national holiday. I don't know if that's true or not. It might be though. So anyway, that's all I had on that. I do have a few pictures, and I think I'll pull a few of those up. But honestly, to find photographs of Memorial Day, you've kind of got the same things. And why did that not go away? Oh, it will go away. And I'm going to pull up some of the photos, but a lot of the photos are going to be pretty much the same. You're going to see regardless. And let me see if I can make. Okay, Tim, stop being an idiot. Okay, guys, close your eyes before I make all of you seasick. I got to stop this and start over here. Hang on a minute. Here we go. Now we'll just go through these and then we can talk some more. I thought this was an interesting. This was a political cartoon or something that came out of a paper, and I don't remember exactly when, and I'm not sure where. And it doesn't. If you can read that, it says "Sacred to the memory of David Porter, killed at Gettysburg, July 3rd, 1863," and then his birth date. He was 27 years old. And there's recent stuff. And if you read some of the others, it says Antietam and Shiloh and other Civil War battlefields. What it doesn't say on that is whether that he was Union or Confederate soldier. So I think this was a somewhat of an homage just to the soldiers who died during the war, and not necessarily the one, for one side or the other. But I could be wrong about that. Yeah, that's another thing I want to. That is another thing I'd like to see when I go to Washington. Would be Arlington. And these are some early days of parades and things. Or I think when I read this is in St. Paul, Minnesota, and this is not so much a parade as it is a procession that's going to a cemetery to honor the fallen veteran or fallen service people, men and women, probably more men back then than women. And this, I found this and I thought, well, I'm not sure this is exactly correct. And I don't know. So I'm not sure that would be a sticker I'd put on something, because it is honoring those who served, but it is honoring those who served and died. I thought this was kind of cool. And this was a Thomas Paine thing written up, but this was a cartoon done a long time ago, 1776. These are the times that try men's souls. The summer soldier and the sometime patriot will shrink from the service of his country, but he that stands by now deserves the love and thanks of man and woman. Tyranny, like hell, is not easily conquered, yet the harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph. And here's another march. I don't know if I wrote this one down, where this one is or not. I can't remember. This was obviously more contemporary than the other one. It's newer, although it's still an old black and white newspaper photo. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe this is part of Arlington, and they are doing a service. And I don't know if you can tell, if anybody knows in here, but I don't know how they do burials at Arlington. I don't know that every person buried there gets the horse-drawn funeral cart or carriage. I'm not sure about that. They don't at Mountain Home, but they do get, my dad and mom both. My dad had full services, or he had a full military funeral, which until you have to go through it may not seem like so much, but I'll have to admit it was pretty moving. And let's see what else I pulled up. This is one of the early marches, although they're starting to get some age on them here, and I see a lot of gray beards in there. So I'm not sure what year this was drawn, but this was after some of the soldiers had aged a little bit more. And they used to gather, on certain days of the year. The North and the South had reunions, if you will, and towards the end, those guys were getting pretty old. I think they got up close to 70 or 75 years before that stopped. There wasn't anybody left to come, basically. And it's just another, like I said, it was hard to find. This was a Veterans Day sign. I put that in there just to show the difference. And it's thanking soldier or service men and women for their courage, dedication, and hard work. And thanks to the military families, which we often forget, for their support, resilience, and sacrifice. And that's a picture, and I'm sorry that it came out so small. I thought it was going to be bigger than that. I don't know if I can. Let me see if I can make it any bigger. Not sure how well you can see it even now, and you probably won't be able to read it. But that is a photo of that Mississippi service, I believe. I don't think this is the Georgia. No, maybe that is Georgia. I can just barely read something that looks like Georgia. So that's a sign. That's a photo taken of and it's not a very good one, even if it's small, of the Georgia service in 1866. I believe they said Matthew Brady's company took that photo. And I thought this was very poignant, a soldier carrying flags and decorating graves. And it's another early drawing of a Memorial Day services somewhere. And this was, of course, very moving and touching. And I mean, if this wouldn't bring a tear to your eye, nothing would. And this young man honoring his father and his own Marine Corps blues. Oh, wow, Shelley, that would be interesting. Again, I don't want to necessarily honor graveyards, but I'd like to go see that. That'd be another thing to see if I ever get down that way. It is, and but it was such a good photo and that's an Afghanistan, Iraq war veteran. But it's such a good photo, I couldn't resist putting it in there. And I thought it was very touching for the day. And I believe that's Logan, who's given credit for helping establish it as a General Logan or Colonel Logan. I can't remember his rank at that time. And this is more of an example of what Decoration Day is in some places, or looks like. And that is also, and this is kind of what I remember seeing, little cemeteries on the top of a hill somewhere, and people come out and put flowers on the graves, and I'm back to the beginning. So that is that for now. But anyway, that is what we're kind of here to talk about some. And now I can catch up a little bit. Yeah, nice. It was a nice bear, wasn't it? You're going to decorate graves or put flags on, Tina? And where do you do that at? Or is it just the local cemetery? Or family is what I mean by local. John, you're a veteran. Do you have any comments on anything I've said, or you agree or disagree with? By all means, feel free to say so. In fact, I don't know if you're a veteran. Let us know. And or if you'd like to honor someone you've lost. Like I said, my dad and my father-in-law, Brenda's father, are both buried at Mountain Home Cemetery. They both served. Her dad was in the Navy. My dad was in the Army during Korea. Her dad was a little bit after that, but served on a submarine tender, I believe, most of his Navy tour. Plaintiff Heart Cemetery, my husband's parents are buried. We also plant them in a couple of graves of his father's buddies. Well, that's cool. Well, thank you, John. I appreciate that. I was trying to read up on some more. I said was trying to read up on this, and I had all those pictures. But the reason I didn't post them all and put them on, I mean, I showed them, but most of what I found was the same thing. Now that's not, there's nothing wrong with that. I did show them anyway, but I was kind of running into the same stuff. Now, historically, I tried to find some more old ones. And like I said, that's when my backside it just wouldn't stop hurting long enough for me to focus. And Brenda, before you ask, I took 3 Tylenol a little while ago. Might could use something else though. So I figured you get the idea, and then I thought I would just ask if anybody had any special memories of a Memorial Day, or if it was more pungent than others. Or my kids, or not my kids, one of our daughters and her husband are in DC this weekend, and I don't know if they're going to go by the cemetery or not. I had to. I'm not sure about my one grandfather. I know my mom's dad was in World War One, and a couple of her brothers at least, were in various wars. My uncle Afton, her oldest brother, was in World War II and fought again. That's a Veterans Day thing, but he's buried up at the VA also in Johnson City, and so we had quite a few in our family who did serve, and I have to admit I did not. I came out of high school the almost the month that we stopped in Vietnam, and they did away. When we went down or called down about signing up for the draft, they said no bother, because it was they had stopped the draft and created the volunteer army, and I just went to school instead. I'll be honest, I've often wondered if I should have gone anyway, but at that time, honestly, I didn't know what to think about it, because the Vietnam War was such a, hey Dave, good morning, was such a tumultuous thing in this country, and it was very confusing for a high school young male in high school who wasn't sure what his duty was versus what was going on. And basically, when they said you don't have to sign up now, I just didn't and went on to school and learned how to work on airplanes. So I have that either to regret or live for, or just accept the fact that that's how it was, and I didn't serve. And fortunately, we went for quite a while without needing people so much to serve, because we more or less were at peace for a while. Didn't have great armies scattered all over the globe like it is now, or has been. But still, I have known a few other folks who did die in the war, and know of folks who died in the war, or a war, not the war. So I know if I went to Washington, one of the things I'd like to go see are the memorials to servicemen and women. The World War II memorial, the Korean War memorial, I think would be something I would really like to go see, and the Vietnam memorial, the wall. Because even though I didn't go, I knew a lot of people who did that were older than me, and some of them didn't come home. It's strange. It's a mixed feeling. Ian says his dad failed his health check when he was drafted. Oh, yeah, I bet so. Tina says in Rome. In Rome, New York. Okay. We used to have a Memorial Day cemetery. My dad was in the VFW Color Guard, and they did 21 gun salute and played taps. It was always rainy and cold. Yeah. Isn't that funny how that weather seems to match the mood of the day sometimes? Yeah, I think if you go to a national cemetery or walk through almost any cemetery, I think, but especially if you walk through a huge one like this, if you don't feel some emotion or some tug, spiritual or whatever you want to call it, I think I'd be concerned. Okay, Carol. Because I think you can feel I don't know, there's a power there. We've seen the wall, very moving. The Korean War Memorial is the most moving, though. I want to see the Korean War, Tina. I want to see it because one, Dad was involved in the Korean War, and two, it just took them so long to build it. I mean, it was, they called the Korean War the Forgotten War for so long because they didn't have any monuments or statues to the Korean War veterans or those who died. And it was just kind of an odd thing. And then when they built it, you guys probably know what I'm talking about when I talk about honor flights, where they actually fly vets back to, or fly them to Washington and let them visit all the memorials or ones in particular that they want to go see. And they were doing that I think they do it out of here. And I really wanted to, when I learned about that, I thought, man, I would really like to take my dad. But by that time, I don't think he would have been able, I don't know that he would have been able to fly or know what was going on so much. So I never did do it, but I always thought that would have been a great thing to do. Tim, do you want to go with me to let the chickens out? Boy, that's a mood changer. When are you going? My wife's uncle did an honor flight. He said it was very touching for him. I wanted to do it. I mean, I would like to have been able to take my dad to see the Korean monument. It was something. I mean, he didn't see combat, but it was something he didn't talk about a lot because I think he had very strong. I know he had very strong emotions about it because he trained soldiers, and the only thing he ever told me about it was that he sent soldiers over there that never came home, and I think that was I suspect that was a survivor's guilt kind of thing. Oh wow, Tina, did you go with him? Did somebody go, or was he able to go alone? Okay, what's Shelley saying that I missed? On the other side of the cemetery. Oh wait a minute. There's this in Laurel, Mississippi. Came across a vase of flowers and a flag that had fallen on a recent grave of a soldier. Just after I fixed it, a woman driving around on the other side of the cemetery drove up to me, rolled down her window to tell me how much she liked my hair. I took that as a sign of thanks. Well, I probably would too, Shelley. That's interesting. Oh, so you've been there too, Carol. Well, good. Well, that's understandable, Tina. Like I said, I would like to have been able to take my dad, but by the time I could have done that, or that I even learned about it, and maybe could have done that, it was kind of too late to take Dad. So I want to go see it now for him, if you will, for myself too. But I would like to go see it for him, and if I could ever find the photograph I have of him in his army uniform, I'd probably take one with me. Let me pause just a moment to give a word to my sponsor here. Brenda, I don't need to go with you unless you want me to. Are you getting ready to go now? It's a bit early, but I will if you want me to. But I don't know if I want to today. I'm not sure I feel like it. I'm sure when I get off this chair, I'll be planting myself in a more comfortable position. And now let me catch up. Now back to our regularly scheduled programming. My cousin and myself stood there just staring at each other like, did that just happen? Isn't that weird? I mean, you never know what kind of. It just shows you that there is a. I don't know. I think it kind of shows it. Hey, past holder pair. Good morning, Mike and Val. We were just discussing Memorial Day and how it started and the difference between that and Veterans Day. And I didn't do a lot of Veterans Day talking. I'll probably wait until Veterans Day and do that. Let me go off. I'm going to turn my camera off for a moment. I've got to readjust my seating position. You guys talk amongst yourselves for a moment. Thank you for that moment. I'm not sure how much it helped, but might help a little bit. How you doing, Mike? I was going to read here. I was going to look here real quick through my other history. That one doesn't say a lot. I just thought about anything here that gave some a little different insight. Let's see what Virginia has to say about it. They probably say it started up there. Okay, one of the first occurred in Columbus, Mississippi on April 25th, 1866. I know that 1866 is the same year that the one in Georgia happened. One of the things they did in Georgia or Mississippi was they fixed some Union soldiers' graves because they had been neglected since the war was over because they were Yankees. Basically, they were the enemy, and the women that were there, of other veteran wives, probably the South, thought that wasn't right, so they made sure that those graves got honored and decorated as well, which is that's good. Both Macon and Columbus, Georgia, claim to be the beginners. There's even Carbondale, Illinois that does. And Waterloo, New York, Tina. And there are a few states that just do a Confederate observance, so they probably the way the South holds the grudge, they probably don't even do it on the same day. It's like Vicksburg. I think Vicksburg still doesn't really celebrate the 4th of July because that's the day Vicksburg surrendered to the Union Army in 1863 or so. I may not have gone to Vietnam, but I knew a lot of people who did, Shelley, and most of them didn't talk much about it, to be honest. I used to work with a lot of pilots, helicopter pilots in particular, that were Vietnam vets, and they didn't talk about it. And I went to school with a lot of guys on the GI Bill that really didn't talk about it either. They might talk about the helicopter they worked on or that kind of chit chat, but they didn't really talk about the war. Oh, so I think his best friend must have talked more to his family, I guess. What did Brenda say? It was very easy to get him off topic and get him started talking about his time in the war. Oh, we had a teacher. Would that be Mr. West, Brenda? Because, yeah, you're right. He did. And he was actually one of my favorite history teachers. I won't say he took me under his wing, but he did. He gave me a couple of books to read and things that I don't know that he offered everybody else. So I really liked him. Stepdad talked about his cultural experiences, but not the war. Yeah. And Mark's father served in Vietnam. He did 2 hitches over there. He was a Marine, so he saw up front action, that kind of thing. And he was at Khe Sanh for a while, but I don't think he was at home when the big siege of Khe Sanh happened, which he always felt guilty about. And John said got to fly on a Huey UH-1 a few times. I bet you did. When you were in the Air Force, that was still been one of the main helicopters. Was that an Air Force helicopter or an Army helicopter, John? What else did I say here? Ian said his grandpa was in the Seabees, I think. Yeah, World War II. I bet he was in the Pacific, wasn't he, Ian? Or do you know? Because that was hell. I knew a couple of people that were. I used to work with a guy. I used to work with a guy who was a Marine, and he had gone into Iwo Jima, and I'm not sure what other islands he landed on and survived, which was a miracle unto itself. And he had a quarter, and this was in the 60s, late 60s, maybe early 70s. He showed me this. And he had a quarter back when quarters were silver, or it was from that period, that he had in his pocket when he landed on those islands during that time, his time in the Marines. And because he survived and made it back home, he carried that quarter in his pocket the rest of his life. And when I saw it, he showed it to me, and it was just about completely worn smooth. You could just barely tell it had ever even been a quarter, and otherwise it just looked like a disc of silver. I mean, he had literally carried that in his pocket for over 40 years at that point, or about, well, not quite, 20-something years. And it was just about worn completely smooth. It was quite amazing. Oh, cool, Shelly. I'd like to see those. We'll have to do that. You want to come on the show sometime, even today. If you want to show them, I'll be glad to, send you a link and invite you in. You're always welcome to show your photos because they're always amazing. I don't know, but I think he was. Grandpa was. Grandma was a nurse and could tell me stories of friends, patients she had that were killed severely. I bet. Oh wow, she was in the hospitals there or on stateside when they got here. Do you know, Ian, if she was in Hawaii or if she was, like I said, stateside or on a ship for that matter? Brenda's going to wait till the show is over. Okay. Well, Shelly, just let me know, and if you just want to share them amongst us, that's fine too. I'd like to see them. I didn't even know they had one in Kalamazoo, but guess what? There's one just right up the road from me, and I didn't know it was there either till last year. Hey, Cherie, good morning. Now, let's see. Are you at work now and you're on break, or are you just home and slept in today so you can have a relaxing morning off? Well, yeah, it was, Ian. I understand that. You're still on vacation. Good deal. Well, I hope you didn't have to get up early this morning and James should have treated you to coffee in bed or something if you even drink coffee. Uh-oh. Carol must have run into her somewhere else. You guys that can do 3 or 4 shows at one time are amazing. We had a picture. Again, this is more talking about the living. I used to have a picture, I believe, of my uncle's unit when he went into Korea, and it was a photograph of them on board a ship. But I don't know what happened to that photo. If I'm even correct about that, I didn't realize that he had served as much as he had until years when he was an old man, and I wasn't living up there, and by the time I realized I needed to go talk to him and get some stories, it was too late. But I know he was in the Battle of the Bulge at some level, some place, I don't know where. And I think he might have been in the invasion of Italy. And then he got out, he mustered out of the army after the war was over. And Korea started up, and he went back and re-enlisted and served in Korea. And then he actually tried to sign up again for Vietnam, And they told him they had plenty of younger men now. They didn't. They appreciated it, but they'd pass and let somebody else have a chance. He'd done his bit, but he was ready to go back. And I don't know if that was just because he liked the army. I don't know why he didn't stay in the army, except that after the war they usually had big reductions in force, and he wasn't an officer or anything. So and as far as I know, he didn't have a whole lot of education. Oh, thanks, Tina. Yeah, I know. I know there's a lot of people out this morning. I apologize for that. I say my backside's hurting. I may quit here in a little bit and let everybody go put their attention to somebody else. Zoo, is that Kalamazoo, Carol? Or is that something entirely different? And I probably missed something that was said. I was going to see if you wanted me to come on, but we had some errands to run. But okay, well, that's okay, Cherie. I'm doing okay, and I'm not going to be on much longer today. I'm hurting a bit, so I'm going to probably close up shop a little early. But I did want to talk about Memorial Day. Okay, Carol, I'll have to look that up online. I think the one here is called the East Tennessee, or maybe just the Tennessee State Aviation Museum, maybe, and it's not real big, but they have several. I think all are flyable World War II planes. I don't know if they've got anything earlier than that or not. I suppose they might have something from World War I. It might be a reproduction. Well, that's true, Cherie. You usually do. Your uncle's on the Saratoga. Oh yeah, I'm sure there was a lot of that going on, Ian. Those guys have to keep that stuff flying in all kinds of conditions and parts, and I mean they have to work. They work hard to keep birds in the sky when you're in that kind of situation, because you don't have access to everything you always need, and sometimes you just got to make do with what you got. And some guys can do that and do a good job of it. Well, that's cool, Ian. Good for him. And the reconnaissance stuff for Desert Storm on the ship on the carrier would have probably been what, E5s and or S5s maybe, what they call a COD, what the Navy calls a COD, and then maybe he might have even worked on some of the E4 Marauders too. Oh, Shelly, they got an SR-71. That's cool. I've never seen one of those up close. SR-71s are still sort of a magic to airplane people. That's still kind of a magic. I can't really think of the word. It's sort of a talisman hanging out there, I guess. Yeah, and the AWACS they usually use onboard airplanes where the Navy had P3 Orions, which were big 4-engine turboprops that they used for AWACS, but onboard ship they usually used I think it's an S2 or an S4, and that the COD version of that might have been the transport ones they used to carry people on and off the ship, and it might be a whale or something. I'll have to look that up, but I knew a guy worked on some of those too. I'll look here real quick. E2 Hawkeye. Yeah, that was probably it. And I will show you kind of what that looks like if you're at all interested. Well, you're probably going to get to see it even if you're not. Except that I can't do it that way. I can do it this way. It will look something like this, Ian. Something along those lines. Might be able to make it a little bit bigger. Yeah, there you go. Which is pretty cool. I never have really understood how anything can fly with that great big giant disc on top of it, though. It's pretty amazing. That's a newer Hawkeye too. That's one of the new, more advanced models. I'm not sure if that's the same as some of the older ones or not. They don't show any other pictures. So maybe that's the same one they've been. I know they've been flying those for quite a while. Yeah, looks like they've been around. There might have been one before that, but I don't see it. I'm sure there probably was, in fact. And I don't know if you can fly a P3 off the deck of a. I don't know if a P3 will fly off the deck of a carrier or not. It's a pretty big airplane. Probably can, but I mean they've launched bigger. They've launched some pretty big things off of carriers before, such as a B5. I mean a B-25 Mitchell for the raid to Tokyo in World War II. Yeah, Navy pilots are good. No, they're not pilots. Excuse me, they're aviators. I was making coffee and listening. Was he a member of Patton's Third Army? Oh, my uncle, you mean? I don't think so, but I'm not positive. Because I don't remember him talking about going to Bastogne, but he might have been. That's just it. I didn't get the whole story from him. Like I said, I didn't even know. It's kind of a sad situation. But when I was little and impressionable or whatever, and would go see my uncles, honestly, most of my cousins were very mean to my uncle after. I mean, they probably not to his face, but they basically always led me to believe he was a drunk and a scary guy. They didn't have much respect for him. And in fact, somebody even used to say he got dishonorably discharged from the Army and all kinds of crap like that, and none of which was true. And I don't know if he ever won any medals, but oh, your dad worked on P3s, John. That's interesting. Was that in the Navy? Because I don't know if anybody else flew them or not, but I know the Navy has them. I had them. I don't know if they still do. Yes, Shelley, I believe that is still correct, although there could be something they're not telling us about yet. But what's amazing about that airplane is it was actually designed in the late 50s, and it was kept secret for a long, long time. And then when it did start leaking out that we had this super stealthy fast airplane, they showed it to the public and did some really amazing cross country speed runs just to kind of show it off. And then after that, it took some of the mystique away from it. But it was almost more of a rocket than a plane, and it had some of the most amazing engines on it that I've ever studied. Ian said he wanted to fly jets, but being 6'3", that was out of the picture. Plus, he don't like to follow orders. Well, that can be a problem in the military, Ian. 6'3" does make it kind of hard to be a pilot, though. Oh. All right, John. Take care. Tell him we said hi. U.S. Navy Reserve. Cool. Okay, guys. It's almost 11:30. I'm hurting a bit. So I'm gonna cut things short today and let everybody go have a good day, and then they can devote more time to other chats or whoever's at the parks today. I'm not sure. I know Myers and the Mouse are going to be on sometime, and I guess the Monarchs will be out in California later today. Although I'm not sure if they're up yet. They might be. They may be getting an early start, or if they are, somebody can tell me. And but I think I'm going to shut down, and so I want to thank everybody for being here this morning. If you get a chance to go out to a military cemetery, as Jason said, say a prayer and give a toast and to those who gave the ultimate sacrifice. And otherwise, if you're having a picnic or something, enjoy. It's a different kind of holiday, but doesn't mean you can't have a good time if you got a day off with your family and friends. In fact, I'd say it's as good a day as any to do that, and maybe even a better one. And because that, in that regard, we can celebrate those we have and remember the fallen. So you guys have a good day. I'm going to sign off. I may see some of you in chat. I may not. I'm going to have to go lay down for a while, I think, and try to stretch my glutes out, because that's torn glute muscles. I think it's giving me the hard time right now. I know I have a torn glute muscle. It wasn't hurting as bad. Here in the last few days, it's been killing me. So rather than complain to you guys about it, I'm just going to go complain to Teddy. Teddy, want to say bye? No, he said bye. All right, Carol, you guys have fun. Really appreciate you guys. And remember, if the good Lord's willing and the creek don't rise, I'll be back here again next Saturday morning. Well, some kind of story to tell. See ya.